Hello and a very warm welcome from my side. I'm Valentin, I'm a solution consultant of Workerbase, and today I will show you how we digitalize shop floor processes with Workerbase. For the agenda for today, so in the next 30 minutes, I will go over a brief introduction. And then the most important thing, go into the hands-on demo, and we will live build a use case. And then we will go over a Q&A session. So as a housekeeping rule, just post your questions if some come up during the session, just post them into the chat and we will go over them later. I hope I can go through every question. If not, we will answer them also remotely afterwards. So let's jump in. First of all, Workerbase from disconnected systems to unified execution. That's basically what we're doing at Workerbase. So what you can see on the left side is your existing systems and machines, for example, OPC UA connectors, MQTT connectors, SAP, your MES system, or HTTP webhooks, everything that you have already in place. Coming to the first point in the middle column, with a fast system integration to Workerbase to display this data to your shop floor workers on the right side. And how we do that? It's the low-code app editor that we have. So we can configure customized applications for every single use case, and that's also the focus of today's demo. And the goal of it is to have it available to your shop floor workers in a unified interface, so the processes can be streamlined. And on top of that, so on top of the low-code app editor, we have a workflow automation tool. So later on, I will call it rule engine. So when we configure rules, we then can react to circumstances on the shop floor or in your existing systems. For example, this is always a little introduction on how the system works or what we will see in the next minutes. So we always have the principle of triggering a workflow, doing something, and we have an output. So for example, for triggering a workflow, it can be an app icon that the user has on the phone, on the watch, on the tablet, or in the browser. It can be a barcode scan. It can be a push from another system, for example, via a connector from SAP. So something that is triggering a workflow. And then the most basic thing is to display the information. That's in the middle section. So we can display text, PDFs, pictures, whatever. Everything that is coming into the workflow can be displayed. And now that's the most important part. We can enrich this data, so we can do something with it. I can put a text to it. I can add a barcode, for example, for traceability. I can scan the barcode of a conductor or something. I can type numbers, use a checklist, take a picture, record a video. So I enrich the data, and then on the right side, you can see the workflow output. So I can do something with it. I can send it to a colleague. I can send an email. I can put it into a database. I can push it into other systems, for example, your MES system. So we have a whole workflow that we can build here. For example, here with good received machine alarm or quality inspections. And quality inspection will also be part of our hands-on demo today. So what you can see here is our use case wheel. So usually when we think about use cases on your shop floor, we're having use cases within this range of that field. Today, we will focus on a quality use case, the quality report. And we'll jump into it in a second, what exactly that is, but just to complete the information about this wheel. So for example, on the left side, you can see missing material, on the right side, tool management or knowledge sharing. So there are several use cases that can be built in a relatively similar way as we will do it today. But today, we will focus on the following: the quality report. So we have two colleagues involved. It's the line operator and it's the quality technician. And the third one, the documentation step, is basically that we are audit ready, so we put the data somewhere. So we have databases to do that inside of Workerbase. So you see the black dots and the box to it. So that's a work instruction. So we will have 3 work instructions created in the next 25 minutes. The first one is to report a quality issue. The second one is to solve a quality issue, and then we have a quality report. These will be the 3 work instructions that we will create. So a defined step-by-step application that the shop floor user can use to enrich data or to receive data. And then you see the arrows. The arrows are our rule engine. It's there to create a workflow with a really simple if and then logic. So for example, if the report quality issue is done, we want to write it into a database. I will show you in a second. That being said, I will directly jump into the platform. I already created a project for that. That's the project where we'll focus on today. So it's a quality inspection. So you can see we are inside of our project, and now I can navigate to our work instructions. So this interface here is always to create and orchestrate our work instructions, workflows, rules, and so on. And now I swipe to the end user. This is the end user interface. So for your shop floor employees, when they have a look into Workerbase, they will see the following. And now we will create the first application for our colleagues. So I click on create a work instruction. It's the report quality issue application. I want to show it as an application, so I tick the box here. I can add also a description. That's also best practice. And that's the most important thing, we have a role-based access system. So I can now check, okay, I have two roles here, manufacturing and quality inspector, and I only want this app to be available for the manufacturing employees. So now on the left side, you can see that's the navigation tool for our work instructions. So you can see screen, a sidebar reason, and then you can also see on which device this application can be run on. So when I click on screen, I can also see the information here. So on the right side, you can have a little introduction or a little overview how it will look like for your end users. And on the middle section, you see, and that's where the magic happens, the step type. You can add always text fields and stuff here. Here we have the buttons to navigate later on. So we have a really simple pre-built app editor here. So when I click on change type, I can now browse through all the types that are available for me here. So for example, I have text output types. That's what I showed you before in the presentation. So just to display information, or media output to show a video, show a PDF, what not. And then here, and that's the important thing, the text input steps. Because first of all, we want to let a barcode be scanned, scan the issue code. Now I can also add a description to be a bit more detailed about it, but way more important are the advanced settings. Because now, as I have an input field, I want to create an output name, so output variable. So the variable here will be issue barcode, so I can identify it later on. Then I want the user to add a picture. That's also a step type. So I scroll all the way down. And you can see there are the media input types. So take photo is the one we need. Please. And then I do the same with the variables. This is the issue picture. And then I want to add a third step because I want to give the quality inspector some information. And this is the type text step. Please describe the issue. And I do the same as I did before. I add the variable name, it's the text for the issue. And now I have created my first work instruction. So I click on save. And now I switch back to the devices. And you can see on the left side, when I click on applications, there's no application because this is our employee from the quality inspection. And on the right side, there is our colleague from the shop floor. So the device I'm using here is the Zebra device. So I can just mirror it. So I can just click on the application. Now I can scan the barcode. Oops. This is the barcode I scanned. I click continue. Now I need to take a picture of it. I can highlight as well where the problem was. And now I'm asked to type in the text. So there is a scratch on the surface. Done. So that's the first application. So when I have a look here, we now have created the report quality issue. The next step that we want to take is this path. So we want to write it into a database that we can store the data. So when I go back to our platform, I can simply navigate to rules. And now I can create a rule here. And for rules, we have several triggers. That's the workflow trigger that I mentioned before. So you can see we have several types of rules that we can select from. It goes from location change. So if a user logs in into a new location, or a task change, that's what we will use now, or schedule it like once a day, every Monday, every first Monday in the month, or something like that. We can react to incoming emails. We can, if a help was requested. So we have several opportunities to start a workflow. But for now, we want to use the task change. So it's the first rule here. It's write the data into the quality database. I click on continue, and now here's the if and then logic that I mentioned. So we can select now the work instruction. There is only one. So if the work instruction quality issue, report quality issue, has the status done, so if the user clicked through it, I want to continue and do something with it. So I can send out a form, there's a checklist, I can send out a work instruction, a message to inform someone, I can send out an email, and what we now want to do is I want to write it into a database. So I already created a database for that. It's the quality database. We will have a look in a second. And now I can select the database and select ID for that. So the ID that we want to ingest is the issue barcode here. You can see that's the one that we created inside of the work instruction. So I just click it, and now I have the variable available here. The same thing I will do with all the information down here. So I have a column for picture. So you see it's the issue picture that we have. And the description is the text. So I type dollar, so I have it now available. So I go for text, and you see here is the text issue. And then I have the state. The state is something that will be hard-coded here because it's not a variable, it's the open state. So I just reported it. Now I click on save. So you see now the rule is now connected to a database and to a work instruction. Now, when I click on the database, I open the database. You can see it also here. It's inside of Workerbase. So we store the data on our side, and you can see we already have 2 reports inside of here. You also have the date, you know when it was reported, when it was touched the last time. You have the description, you know the status, and you have also the ID to know what you're seeing. And now, when I trigger the rule again, or when I use the work instruction again, so I scan the barcode, I take the picture, I can mark something on it, and I give a little bit of text, so the surface is still scratched. And now I finish it. So for the end user, nothing changed. But for the admin actually, or for everyone that is interested, when I refresh the database, now I directly have access to all the information here. So it was created on the spot. The shop floor user did not need to take further action to report it or need to take more effort to document it in a proper way. We took the action. So now it's stored in our databases. But that's not the end of the story. So the next topic would be that we want to send out another work instruction. So I want to inform the quality inspector. So I go back to work instructions and I create this second application of today that is solve the quality issue. This time I will not show it as an app because it's later part of the workflow. So it will be triggered automatically. Now I can go to the screens and I want to add the screen photo and add quality issue details. So a little description here. I can add text, and now with the dollar, I have access to the text, for example, that the colleague added. I can then use the variable for the media as well. And what I also want to have here is the scanned code that the colleague can identify when he's at the part to check it. That's a very simple, very simple application. But what you will see is now that I hand over the data. So I hit save. You can see there is the second work instruction. Now to hand over the data, to report the quality issue to someone, I need to create a second rule. So the second rule follows the idea of the first one. So we use a task change. That's now the second rule. Send task to quality department. Continue. I will add a work instruction. You can see there are two now, but I want to use the report quality issue. When the status of that task is set to done, I want to send out, and now we're using the work instruction. So we want to send out a work instruction, and it's the solve quality issue work instruction. And now you can see on the right side, this is how the message will look like on the watch, for example. And now we can edit the headline, the title, and the description. Because our quality department is maybe not only one person. So we have a role-based assignment system here. So everyone with that role will receive that message if they are qualified. And for that, they need some information directly on the screen to be able to react to it. So for example, I can say it was reported by, and now I have a lot of information here. For example, the caller last name. So that's mine then. I can add a title, quality issue reported. Now I can also add the script, the text, for example. So I have it available here as well. And yeah, for example, I can also add a timestamp when it was reported. I can also manipulate the priority. So we have priority status from 1 to 5. Here, I just leave it at a solid 3. Then we can select how I want to announce it to the colleague. Here, I want to definitely have a notification because a quality issue can interrupt your workflow. So every user that is available should be directly notified. And I want to notify all the users with the role quality inspector. I can also be a bit more detailed to select a location, for example, that if I have 2 plants, if I have in one plant 2 halls, for example, that only the persons close to where the issue was reported are informed. Or in the advanced settings, I can set a timer. So if the problem was not solved within 10 minutes, then I can escalate it, for example. So with all that configured, I just hit save. And I will switch over again to once show you how it looks now. So I again scan the barcode, hit continue, I take same picture again, I will mark it, continue, and the surface is still scratched. And I finish it. But on the left side, you can now see that the colleague of the quality department got a report by myself, and there's a quality issue being reported. So the surface is scratched, it was reported at this date and time. So now I can accept it on the left side, and if there would be a colleague with the same role, the colleague would be informed that someone else is taking care. So you do not have the situation that either none of your colleagues showing up at the quality issue, or 2 or 3 colleagues are showing up. We spread the information around. So when I now accept it, you can see that's exactly what I configured. So I can see the quality issue detail in the headline, I can see my picture, I have the description, I have the scan code. I could now elaborate that a bit and say, please, quality inspector, give me information how you solved the problem, what should we do with the part, and so on and so forth. But this will take more than 30 minutes now, so we will skip that. And now, when I look back to the presentation for a second, you can see we have a check on the report quality issue. We have a check on the solve quality issue application. So now we can distribute the applications, we can set it up. And now there's the third step here, to give access to the documentation, because you don't want the shop floor employees to go to your database. They should have it on their phone. So what I now do is I create a third application for that with a database view. So I'm now in the quality database, and now I'm able to create views here. So I will create now the quality issue overview. I can now change that it should be sorted when it was created, descending. I could also group it. I could filter for some information if I want. So for example, you can see there's 1 and 2 open, the third one is closed. So for example, I could filter for the state equals open. So you see that one is now disappearing, and I will save that now. And now I can create an application based on that. So I go back to my work instruction. I click create a work instruction. And now this is the open quality issue overview application. I want to show that as an application now to the colleagues of the quality inspection. And I go to the screens and create a list out of that. And the list now can use either a function when I want to load it from SAP or MES system, for example, or I can just use a database. And the database views, when I search for the quality issue overview, that's the one we created. I just add a headline here that we can identify it, overview quality issues. Now I can decide what I want to show to the colleagues. Same game as before. With the dollar, I have access to all the variables that are available. So for example, in the text, there should be the description. The identifier for the rows is the ID, and I want to add a title. And it looks a bit nicer. So the title is the ID, for example, because we have a barcode there. And I just add it like that, so I really know what it is. And a fallback message in case the database is empty. So no data to show. And that's just a very simple list. We save that one. And now we go over to the colleague, and now you see directly the app is here live within a second. I can click on it, and you can see there are 2 problems. They are sorted. So the 10090 was the one that I just created. So the surface is scratched. And then we have another one, our old one, that is also scratched. Now I could look into details or dig deeper. I could think about distributing tasks or something. But yeah, that's how you create the applications inside of Workerbase. So just looking at the flow here, just to make the last check mark here, the quality report. So we now gave also access to the databases. So you did not only document it, you also created an access for the shop floor employees to have direct access to our databases. The next step here would be the Q&A session. I already see that there are a lot of questions, so I directly jump into it. Can workflows include escalation rules, for example, if a quality issue isn't resolved within a certain time? Yes, exactly. I think I briefly mentioned it, but there are several ways we can escalate it. You can escalate it based on if no one is available, for example, or if time runs out. So there are mechanisms to do that. What are typical use cases customers start with? Yeah, that's a good one. I think there's no silver bullet to that. But when you look at the use case wheel, usually a customer has a good demand or has a department that is more interested in change than others. So that's usually where we start. So the use case that we start with needs to go onto or needs to fulfill two criteria. So first of all, it should bring value to the company, 100%. So that's the most important thing to do. But also, it should bring value to the shop floor employees, and that's sometimes a bit counterintuitive because the most value use case looks like the most reasonable to start with. But we have also a webinar about value engineering. So that's how we find out which one is the most valuable. But we need the acceptance from the shop floor. And that's why we usually start with a use case that has high acceptance or high need on the shop floor. So yeah, there's no silver bullet to that. How long does it take to roll out the first use case on the shop floor? Yeah, that's also a quite difficult question, but usually when we have the first use case and the process somehow already defined, or there is already a process, then it rather takes hours to days, maybe weeks, but definitely not months or years, as you know it maybe from different other IT projects. How do you ensure workers actually use the system? What's the learning curve like? Yeah, as I said before, so usually we are searching for use cases that also satisfies the users on the shop floor. So the acceptance is quite high because we are working with the shop floor users to build the use cases. So we have a four-staged approach here. So it's the discover, where we want to discover which use cases we have. It's the validate, so we really talk to shop floor users and build the process with them so that it's the most efficient process that we can do. Then we implement it and then we iterate on that. So we will improve. So we take the shop floor employees with us on the journey. So the learning curve is also quite steep. Can we build custom dashboards, or does Workerbase integrate with existing BI tools? Yes, we do integrate with BI tools. So we just have a connector for that, or we can also help you building the dashboards with the tool that we have. What devices does Workerbase support? I said it before, but it's watches, tablets, it's all the browsers, it's Android, iPhone, Android, Apple, and also Windows. How does the platform integrate with our existing systems? So usually we have a good experience with that. So we have connectors for close to every system. So there was not a single system we couldn't integrate with. So usually for SAP we have APIs, and if the other system has also a REST interface or can provide APIs, we can also connect. Is any data migration needed, or can Workerbase work with our current systems as is? Yes, we can work with the systems as is. We have internal databases where we just sync the data. It's also a bit of an effort, but quite manageable. But as we can sync the data, we don't need to migrate it. Can I make use of, in your case, a quality issue based on an error reported from the machine directly without any manual reporting? Yep, this would be, or this is also a classical use case, the machine alarm use case, where we connect to an MQTT, for example, or to an OPC UA server on your side that is sending us the alarm, and we can then use the rules to steer the information to the employee that is required to solve the problem. And we have quite good experience with that because that's the usual use case we have. So I hope I could answer all your questions. If there are any more, just feel free to post them again or just contact me or us. And thanks for your attention.